Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, KGEO Sports Talk. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Normally, I would toss it to Sparky and let him tell you guys what's going on today, but he is dealing with a cold and has very little voice, so we will hear from him as much as humanly possible. But to preserve that said voice and make sure I get all of the takes in which that he is brilliant for, I'm going to just tell you guys what we got for us today. We have an NFL Week 14 recap for you, plus a Monday Night Football preview as we await the Eagles headed to LA to take on the Chargers. The NCAA college football playoff rankings were announced, the final ones. And of course, with that always comes controversy every single year, as a couple teams were left off and a couple teams were put in that some people think, including Nick Saban and others, there was some biases that were put into this. So we'll talk about that as well. NXT deadline was over the weekend. I'll give you guys my thoughts on that. Snacks will be coming in at 8:30 to talk the NBA, as he usually does. Get his thoughts on CP3, Giannis, and this entire Thunder dominance that we keep seeing after they won 30 points without SGA last night. That was incredible. Plus, our guys from the Open Mic Mondays over there at Firehouse will be with us, Tyson and Trevor as well at the 8 o'clock. Hopefully get you guys laughing right before your week starts. But let's start with the world of football, because there is way too much to cover, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of it today. We will start with the NFL as we normally do. Fantastic Sunday Night Football game last night between the Houston Texans and the Chiefs, in a game that honestly at the beginning of this I thought was going to be a walkover for the Thunder. I apologize, for the Texans. I'm all over the place today. For the Texans, a 10-0 lead at the half looked pretty dang good for D'Amico Ryans and company, but at the end of it all, the Chiefs were able to at least make it a game, ending it 20-10 if I'm not mistaken. And once again, we are sitting here on a Monday thinking, is the dynasty over? Is this entire run by Patrick Mahomes and company, is it done? Have they finally been found out? And to be honest with you, it's a 9-year run. That's pretty dang impressive for anybody, regardless. Sparky obviously saying they are dead, and I'll get his thoughts in a second. The Denver Broncos have officially wrapped up the AFC West for the year. First time since 2015, the year they went to the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning and beat the Panthers. The notorious Cam Newton didn't jump on the football game. And when I look at this team, 129 wins and 48 losses over those 10 years in the regular season, mind you, not counting any playoff dominance that they've had. Never lost more than 6 games until this year with Patrick Mahomes at the helm at quarterback. And to be honest with you, last night they had the most drops in a single game as well, with 6. That's the most ever with Patrick Mahomes as their leader. It may be time, or in my personal opinion, I just think the AFC has finally figured out a defensive, formula that is able to get to these guys. I think that we've been able to obviously see the greatness that is Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the ridiculous amounts of wide receivers that have come through that entire team. But when there are 9 to 10 years straight of just dominance from one team, and 9 to 10 years of tape that these guys can go over, I think we're just now seeing that the AFC is catching up. The AFC has now officially found ways to disrupt incredible offenses. I mean, you look across the board, a lot of these teams that are in the AFC, let alone the AFC West, if you count the Chiefs and the Chargers, fantastic offenses led by great quarterbacks. So every team on the AFC side has been forced to make their defenses special or unique in different ways. And the teams are the honest epitome of that, in my opinion. Every game this year, for those of you who have not been following the Texans, granted, a month ago, they were written off. They were 3-5. Nobody thought they were going to be able to make it. CJ Stroud was hurt. We thought it could potentially be a long-term injury as well. Luckily, it didn't end up being so. But the defense has been able to keep them afloat. Not a single game this season, not a single one of an opponent throwing for over 200 yards. In today's NFL, that's incredible. With a front seven that's able to get to any quarterback, no matter what offensive line is in front of them, the Houston Texans look good. They look scary. And to be honest with you, I think that this is just a prototypical defense that has been created by a lot of AFC teams to get the better of guys like the Kansas City Chiefs. Sparky, I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. I know that you are healing from everything, but what were your thoughts on the game last night?
Well, it was a hell of a game. The same thing. I mean, really, it's Houston's defense that is, stand alone for that team, and I think the Chiefs are dealing with a lot of issues. Also, losing another offensive lineman to start out the game, that always hurts. But the drops are killing them. And I mean, what was it? Patrick Mahomes threw 3 picks.
Yep.
And you could put that on the defense, but you could also put that in what this offense has looked like this season. It doesn't look like the usual, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes type of offense, but I think it's probably going to be a short-lived. They'll clean up some stuff this year. That team is super talented, so I mean, I wouldn't count them out in the near future, but I think this season's over.
In order for them to make the playoffs, they would have to win out, and they would need a lot of help. A lot of help. Right now, when you look at the teams that are in front of them, the Colts, especially after losing Daniel Jones, which we'll get to at some point, they don't look great. They've lost their last 4. Honestly, probably were 1 play away from losing 6 straight, if you want to be straight about it. But at this point, they have a lot of things that need to go their way. 16% chance the Chiefs make it to the playoffs this year. Like Sparky said, not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen crazier things happen. Shoot, the Cincinnati Bengals still have a chance to make the playoffs, believe it or not.
The Miami Dolphins, they have the same record.
Yep.
But that just stems another question I have for you is, how important is this game tonight for the Chargers?
Oh, huge. This is massive. Because again, you can't win the division. It's already over with, but you need to solidify your play or your wild card spot because it is absolutely just jam-packed right now. If you look at what this playoff structure looks like for the AFC, I'll run down it real quick. Your Broncos are 11-2. They're number 1 in the entire AFC. Patriots right behind them at 11-2 at number 2. Jags now at 3 at 9-4, believe it or not. The Steelers taking their game against the Ravens over the weekend gave them the division lead at 7-6. And then your 3 wild card teams right now, you have the Texans at 8-5. The Chargers are sitting there at 8-4, depending on what happens tonight. And then the Bills at 9-4 hold the 5 spot. If they end up losing, especially with Justin hurt right now, it is not a good thing moving forward. Plus, like we just said, you got teams like the Colts that are right there on your tail. You got the Miami Dolphins that are looking for a spot. And again, if they win out, there's still a possibility. The Ravens, if they win out, there's a possibility. So it is no time for any of these teams to really slack off. You have 2 games on them. That's fair. But at this point, if you lose one of these games and maybe the Colts jump up over you, it's going to be a really weird conversation at the end of the year, especially for Jim Harbaugh to explain how you had the number 3 overall offense in the league right now and you didn't make the playoffs, especially with the number 2 pass offense in the league and a top tier defense as well. It's incredible. So really, when you look at the Chargers, their biggest problem has been the turnovers, which we'll get to that in the Monday Night Football game, because I think that is going to be the biggest tell tonight is how the defenses can really disrupt these offenses and make it happen. But when it comes to the playoff structure right now and what needs to happen, absolutely. This is a massive, massive game for the Chargers and the Eagles, because if you look at the opposite side of this, the NFC East, the Eagles, yes, holding the lead right now at 8-4. The Cowboys are right on their heels. If they end up losing 3 out of the last 4 games and the Cowboys win out, they lose the division. So both of these teams need to be absolutely on top of their game tonight in order to pull this off. Either of one of them win, I'm not sure if it's an automatic bid for the playoffs. I think it's more likely so for the Eagles. But with the way the Eagles have been playing this year and being bottom half in almost every statistical category that matters, I don't know how they keep winning. I really don't. I have no clue. I mean, I was doing my notes yesterday thinking, okay, I haven't checked the NFL rankings in a while, at least statistically. Let's see where the Eagles rank, right? And I was actually writing them down this morning, so let me write them out for you real quick. Offensively, the Philadelphia Eagles right now are 25th overall. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's the defense. 24th overall. I apologize. So much bigger of a jump, right? 22nd overall in rush offense. Have only, I'm sorry, I believe 7 games they've had less than 80 yards rushing with Saquon Barkley. It's ridiculous. 23rd in pass offense. Even with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, we all wonder why A.J. Brown's complaining so much. Wonder why. 19th in scoring. How this team continues to win, I have no idea. But they do. And that's just the way it works, apparently. But when it comes to tonight's game, I think this is going to be that one game that the Eagles look at and say, there goes our season. Because even with a hobbled Herbert, I'm telling you, this Charger team is scary. They really are. And I think a lot of people are questioning the Denver Broncos, who, again, 24-17 against the Raiders. A lot of you were looking at me like I was crazy last week that game was going to be closer than it looked. And I was without Geno. I was with Kenny Pickett for most of the game. So the Broncos still aren't exactly a runaway for the Super Bowl either. If the Chargers can continue to win, even though they can't win the division, they can take over and pretty much knock out their division rival in the playoffs if it all worked out that way. So I think that to answer your question in a long format, yes, this is a huge game for the Chargers, especially momentum building. And if they lose tonight, it's going to be rough to really keep that last wild card spot. But on the opposite side, if the Eagles lose tonight, I don't think they ever really reached that momentum that they were reaching last season to make it to the Super Bowl. Because this time last year, we were looking at an incredible streak from the Philadelphia Eagles that stretched all the way through the Super Bowl. And this is not the same team. It's just not. It hasn't been.
That one team you brought up that is now, a couple of weeks ago was, top of everybody's topics on who could have been a runaway for the AFC is now on the bubble looking in and lost their starting quarterback who was already injured. So, I mean, looking at the Colts now that not only lost a game, but lost their starting quarterback. And I mean, this is something that the Colts and Colts fans have looked and seen over the years. But now, how different is this AFC East or AFC playoff race looking now that the Colts are looking like, unless somebody can step in and win some big games in the next 3 or 4 weeks, are you counting out the Colts? You still think they're still in the mix?
Honestly, I'm counting them out now. And it sucks for me to say because at the beginning of the season, they were a real team. This was a real contending team. I genuinely believe that. But now after the Achilles injury, plus Daniel was already dealing with the fractured fibula, I mean, him coming back next year is going to be a struggle, especially to look as good as he was to begin this season. So when it comes to the Colts, plus you look at their road record. I mean, I talked about it last week with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have barely won a game on the road this season. The Colts are right behind them. They're 2-4. I mean, regardless of who was at quarterback, and like I just said a couple minutes ago, they were really one touchdown away from having a 6-game losing streak before Daniel got hurt. So they haven't looked good in over a month. And with teams like the Texans really resurging, CJ finally coming into some sort of health, the defense looks better than it ever has. It's hard to sit there and say that the Colts are going to be able to at least keep themselves in the somewhat playoff picture. I hope that they're able to at least compete, but to be honest with you, the way it looks like right now, I would not have them in the playoff picture whatsoever. Their final games, they're headed to Seattle, take on the Seahawks. Then they got the 49ers. Then they take on Jacksonville again at home. And then the final game is in Houston. So these are 4 really, really rough games for a backup quarterback, regardless of if it's Anthony Richardson getting healthy or Riley Leonard taking over. I don't see it on either side. So I'm going to sit there and say that the Colts season is probably over. We're going to see them end 8-9 and be right in about the middle of the draft, looking for something in offensive line to help keep bolstering this team and maybe keep Daniel Jones healthy for next season. So I would have to say, as it sits right now, Colts season, unfortunately, after watching Daniel go down yesterday, it's pretty much done. And I mean, me and you were texting yesterday, spark back and forth while watching these games. Big name players were dropping like flies yesterday. Jaden Daniels went down, re-injuring that elbow. And I mean, Commander fans must have had PTSD watching that with the whole RG3 situation. Last thing you want to see is a star quarterback re-injure something and then leave for the rest of the season, regardless if you're in the playoff race or not. I mean,
trying to tackle on interception.
It's just it. And again, honestly, Joe Burrow's in Buffalo, that first interception he threw, which was a duck. And I mean, I get it because again, sub-freezing temperatures, that football is probably hard as a rock, and it was just a bad play in general thrown out there. Just
that was a hell
it
of a
was
game.
really bad. But when Joe tried to tackle Bernard and hit the ground so hard, I was like, oh no. If I'm Zach Taylor, I'm looking at Joe and saying, you never try to tackle another linebacker again, boy. It's not because you look bad, but it's because I don't need you falling and breaking your damn shoulder. Like, no, that was the scariest moment of the entire game, in my personal opinion. But at the end of it all, I mean, we had a lot of really key injuries yesterday. We'll hopefully have some updates for you between today and tomorrow on how much these guys will be out or how much time they'll be missing. Certain teams, I'm expecting them to shelf some of these guys just for the rest of the season. Atlanta, I would not be surprised if you don't see Drake London for the rest of the year. I really wouldn't. They're just going to sit there and say, whatever. We can't beat the Jets, nor can we beat anybody else. So at this point, just let Kirk throw interceptions and we'll just lose every game from here on out and give our draft pick to the Rams, which is the nightmare of everybody in the NFC West. But it is what it is at this point because I'm happy with the guy we got in the trade. So I don't really give a dang.
Well, I mean, even speaking about the NFC, I mean, there was some ups and downs.
Ugh.
Not only, what happened to Tampa, but
that was biggest upset of the year.
Really?
Biggest upset of the year.
So?
Oh my, in Tampa?
Yeah.
In Tampa.
Tampa just looks mixed up.
Not even just that. Tyler Shuck didn't even beat you with his arm. He beat you with his legs. That's embarrassing. And both of those touchdowns were like ridiculously embarrassing if I'm a defensive front seven. I said at the beginning of the year, Tampa Bay did not impress me. They still don't impress me. I get there's been a ton of injuries, but they aren't that good. I mean, Carolina might take the position from them in the playoffs. That's how bad they are. So I don't know exactly what we're getting from them. But yeah, in my personal opinion, New Orleans beating Tampa over the weekend, that was upset of the year in the NFL. It really was. And third win for the Saints. So good for you. That's double what I thought you guys were going to get, if I'm being completely honest. And the Titans too. I mean, the Titans pulling it off against Shedeur. And did I not call it? I mean, again, I know Tennessee is probably as good as USC in college. Like, they're probably not even that good. It doesn't matter. I called it. I knew this was going to be a big game for Shedeur. This was a fantastic show out for him. Over 300 total yards, 4 touchdowns. And Kevin Stefanski, once again, showing everybody why this man needs to be fired. Once again, how you need a 2-point conversion to tie the game, and you went with Wildcat formation? Okay, either you had a bet on the game or you just don't want to be there anymore. Because at this point, these are just stupid coaching moves. Dumb. Idiotic. This kid, now, no matter how much you like him or dislike him, brought you back. He was literally a play away from getting you into overtime, which he probably would have made, by the way. He probably would have made it. But no, you thought it was smart to do a double reverse to a wide receiver who then chucked it to the other side of the field and almost got you guys 2 points thrown the other way. This guy needs to be fired. I'm sorry. I know I call for people's jobs entirely too often, and I really need to stop doing it. But it bugs me. It genuinely bugs me when I see a head coach in the NFL treat players like this just because they don't like him. Dude, you've got to be the dumbest person in Cleveland right now. And that's saying something. Especially with my Cavaliers looking like hot garbage right now. You are the dumbest man in Cleveland. And to be honest with you, you probably would have been in the fight for the entire division right now, let alone an 8-9, 9-8 team, if you had started Shedeur from the get-go. And everybody's going to highlight it now. And that's why, again, I've been saying it for weeks, Kevin Stefanski will be fired from the Cleveland Browns because this is just dumb. It really is. And then for Cleveland to come out during the game as well and say, oh, we're going to keep Deshaun Watson, by the way, next year too. What? And still saying, Kevin, you are still the dumbest person in Cleveland, no matter what the GM just said. You're still dumber than him. Let's take a break real quick. We'll get to some of these other games and talking points in the NFL. Plus, I got to just break down this entire college football playoff situation because personally, you guys heard me last week say Notre Dame didn't deserve to be there in the first place. And yet everybody's crying, saying there's biases against the Catholics. Whitlock. God, I hate that guy so much. If there's one sports person on television that I just do not respect, it's Jason Whitlock. And for him to come out afterwards and say, there's a clear bias against Catholics in this. No, everybody just looked at the record and looked at the actual schedule that Notre Dame played. They may have won 10 games in a row, but every game they played against a ranked opponent outside of USC, they lost. Wonder how that works. Let's take a break. We'll get into all of that before we get to our guests of the day. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk.
Call or text into the Early Birds.
Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. Also streaming video live every single day as we are live on the show from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can follow us on all social media platforms as well, including TikTok and Instagram. Just search the Early Bird Special or the Early Bird Special Official. Just look for our logo there, and it'll be the first one you see, I'm pretty sure, on most of these platforms now. We have been there for a while. Let's get to some of the rest of this recap real quick before we break down the college football playoff bracket here and all the controversy that's been set around that and James Madison making it in. But I already mentioned a little bit. The Steelers had a uphill battle this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens, but made it look effortless, to be honest with you. And I have to highlight once again, as much as I love Arthur, he's got to figure out a way to make a pass game, man. You have to. And if this game doesn't prove it, I don't know what does. The Steelers are 4-1. 4-1 when Aaron Rodgers throws over 200 yards. Okay, I just said 200, not 300 for most of you that are listening. And most of you are saying, that's tiny. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know. That's how often it doesn't happen. They need to absolutely figure out a way to get DK Metcalf involved more in this offense. Figure out a way to pass the ball more. And honestly, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm looking at Arthur and saying, they're calling for my job, but yours is the one that's up, bud. Especially if we don't make the playoffs. Luckily, they were able to take the first game against the Baltimore Ravens over the weekend, moving to 7-6 and a sole leadership in the AFC North. But will it hold? That's the real question. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. The Steelers' next 4 games, they got Miami at home. Then they head to Detroit to take on the Lions. Then they head to Cleveland to take on the Browns. And we all know what usually happens when they head to Cleveland. And then they finish off the year taking on the Ravens at home. The Baltimore Ravens have to head to Cincy. Then they play New England at home. Then the Packers in Lambeau. And then they end their season in Pittsburgh. Both of these teams have uphill battles against him. That's why I honestly say, if you're a Cincinnati Bengal fan, you might be the one in the biggest or the most luck here, even after losing to the Bills over the weekend. Cincy falling to 4-9 still somewhat has a chance to win this division, believe it or not. They would have to win out. Pittsburgh would have to lose out, go 0-4, and the Ravens would have to go 1-3, effectively just winning that last game against the Steelers at the end of the year. And magically, Cincinnati would make it to the playoffs. As unlikely as that is, does anybody truly believe that we have seen the best of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Does anybody truly believe that the Miami Dolphins couldn't pull off a win against the Steelers? The Detroit Lions couldn't? Shador and the Browns couldn't? I'm just saying, this could end up happening. Likelihood of it, I would say probably in the small 5 percentile area. But if we see Joe Burrow and the Bengals take this entire division, you want to talk about some coach firings. We would definitely see most likely the end of Mike Tomlin's era in Pittsburgh. And Jim Harbaugh would probably be the next one up as well.
I really thought they were going to be in it. And I think that loss to Buffalo really killed it.
39-34, man. I watched that entire game because I got so fed up with Atlanta's early that I just said, I'm done, especially after that second half. My God. But that 2 plays really are what lost that game for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm being obvious about that. 2 interceptions back-to-back by Joe Burrow. One of them was the one I talked about earlier, where it was an absolute duck on a screenplay to Jamar Chase, where the linebacker jumped right in front of it, took it to the house with no effort whatsoever. And then the next play, he throws another one, which it was a tipped ball. First 2 picks of it the entire year for Joe Burrow, even though he's been hurt for the vast majority of it. But what I saw from them, though, at least has a little bit of hope in it, a little bit of, promise. They were dominating the Bills throughout the most part of this game, to be honest. I think it was 27-18 at one point in the fourth quarter before they really started spiraling. But the fact that they still have a shot in hell at 4-9 is baffling to me. I mean, the Browns got kicked out last night. The Atlanta Falcons got kicked out last night. The Commanders and the Cardinals as well. Teams are falling off left and right. And to be honest, obviously, one game out, we could see the same for the Cincinnati Bengals. But them pulling it off in division at least and picking up those big wins against the Steelers and against all these other division rivals, that's what's keeping them alive. And if the offense is prolific enough and can score 50 points a game, the other team can't score 40. Especially with everything we've talked about in the beginning of this season when it came to the Cincinnati Bengals, I would be absolutely besides myself if they somehow sneak into the playoff here. In the AFC East, Sparky's division, the Buffalo Bills moved to 6-1 in their final season at home with the big win over the Cincinnati Bengals, as we just told you. But they will head to Gillette to face the number 1 Patriots this week in Drake May. I'm not 100% sure how this one's going to go. The last game was 23-20, obviously, in favor of the Patriots, the only home loss the Buffalo Bills have had this year. But I need to highlight this, as Sparky has been highlighting for weeks. The Buffalo Bills defense looks awful. The front seven couldn't get to Joe Burrow, even with that god-awful offensive line that's in front of him. They're an aging out defensive ends with Joey Bosa and the other guy's name always escapes me. And my brother-in-law is probably going to text me right now with the name, and I appreciate it. But I am not impressed. I'm impressed with Josh Allen every single week. He's Superman. But everybody else on this team does not impress me. James Cook fumbling in the end zone. Again, not impressive. In fact, your brother would never have done that. I'm just going to throw it out there. Delvin would never have done that. But here we are talking about James, and Delvin's out of a job. And at the end of the day, the Patriots defense is just studly. 8th overall, 6th in points allowed. I mean, 2nd in rush defense, which means I don't expect James Cook to have any kind of an impact here. But Buffalo desperately needs a win in order to at least claw back into some sort of relevancy in that division to maybe take the division crown. Because if you look at them if you look at their play away from home, they may be 6-1 at home, but much like the Colts and the Chiefs, not the same team away. And if you have to play through a wild card trying to take on all of these teams at their place in the middle of winter, I don't see it working out very well for Josh Allen and the Bills, which would be a very, very interesting sight, like we said last week, if all of his major rivals were not in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, the people who usually knock him out, and he doesn't make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, the levee is going to break eventually with a lot of these teams. I think Buffalo is on that short list. But I'm wondering how long Josh is going to be willing to stick around in Buffalo if they keep, having this type of a deal. Because I don't know about y'all, but you can only be Superman for so long before it gets really annoying. I'm just saying. And on the opposite side of this, as we talked about, Sparky's Dolphins pulling off a fantastic win against the Jets. The Jets losing Tyrod Taylor and not even going to Justin Fields, which was shocking. They went to Cook instead. But what did you see from your team, my friend? I mean, you guys are still fighting for that spot, 6-7. There's a little bit of a chance there. You have just as much chance as the Chiefs do. And, I mean, your Final Four at Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, and New England, I mean, they're rough games, don't get me wrong, especially with Tua as a quarterback, but I've seen crazier things happen. Your Dolphins might be able to sneak in. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'd be even happier just to be spoiler. I mean,
True.
I'm just happy to see the team playing well together. The defense has stepped up. And not only that, I mean, they came out swinging, and in Dolphin fashion, they were up 21-0 in a quick second, and then just kind of
Faded a little bit.
Just kind of played soft defense. I'm like, really, you guys are going to make this a game? Really? But that was one of the things I wanted to bring up is not only the Jets, but Dolphins losing A-Chain in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. Luckily, he was fine. He went back into the tent, came back with his helmet, and they just chose to not play him. Smart. Which, if you're looking for a running back in fantasy, I will say, which I've said in the beginning, Jalen Wright is a hidden gem. I mean, his first 100-yard game, his first touchdown, but this kid is going to get some carries in the next couple of weeks, and he had just leapfrogged over Ollie Gordon. And I'm just saying, I know there's a lot of fantasy we'll get into a bit later as this was the final week, but as just a Dolphin fan, I'm happy to see the defense. I'm a defensive guy, And I think not only I had a couple guys, our buddy Dan, the big Charger fan, was saying, it looks like the coach might keep his job. And I said, well, it's not even really that. I think it's just to see the team playing well together. And I think losing Tyreek, obviously it hurts your team, but it shows that that guy wasn't the only guy in this team. This team has actually played better without him. And I think that's going to push Tyreek out. I think they'll move forward without him, and that'll clean up some salary cap. But we did have a couple texts if you want to get into those in a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're talking with the Chargers, so I know we're going to talk about them in just a minute.
Yeah, we'll get with that with Tyson and all that, being a massive Charger fan that he is. But I have to commend, though, the Dolphins, because when A-Chain went down, and again, Sparky was the first one to let me know it happened, I immediately told him, I was like, ooh, that's a big one. That's a big loss. Even though you're playing the Jets, that's a huge loss for the running game. But I was impressed. Like you said, Jalen Wright, I mean, you've been talking about this guy forever. Ollie Gordon's touchdown was impressive. I love what I see from that guy, though.
All three running backs got a back touchdown.
But the only problem, though, is how is Mike going to be able to balance that? You know what I mean? Like, because you can't just not have A-Chain on the field. But at the same time, how can you ignore the production from the other two? You know what I mean? That's why I like watching Atlanta play with the running backs, because you see Bijan moved out to wide receiver all the time with Tyler in the back, or Tyler will be blocking sometimes, and Bijan will be running. And there are so many different ways that offenses can just change up how a running back is used throughout the offensive schemes. But with you guys, I mean, having three studs like that, the only team that I can think of that's had a similar situation was the Chargers back in the day with LT. And I'm not going to sit here and claim that A-Chain's to the level of LT, but when you have three incredible running backs back to back to back like that, it's hard to really guess, okay, which one do we hold on to and which one do we make part of the offense while the other one kind of fades out or maybe finds a new team, because it's hard to balance three running backs. Back then, they were trying to balance LT, Michael Turner, and Darren Sproles. And for those of you who aren't paying attention to the Chargers back then with Phillip Rivers, they did not use Michael Turner at all. In fact, they really just let him return kicks until he left and went to go play with Atlanta, and then turned into the burner, one of the best running backs Atlanta's ever had. So it's one of those moments where if I'm Miami, I got to figure out which one of these two, or which one of these three, I should say, the two out of these three that we're going to hold on to and build around, because there's way too much talent in that backfield not to utilize it. Do you think Mike actually hold on to his job, though, if you guys sniff the playoffs? I mean, if he gets you guys anywhere close to 8 and 9, I think that's a successful year.
I mean, obviously, I think it'll happen if he makes the playoffs, but I really think it's just going to happen with whatever the GM wants.
Or the new GM, I guess, coming in.
I mean, because that's the guy that's going to be cutting checks and putting a plan together.
That was going to be my second question to you. I mean, we've talked so much about the New York Giants GM, but Greer was the first one to get fired this year as a general manager. Do you think that was really one of the big things that was the problem? Do you think that everybody on the team was just fed up with dealing with him?
I think Miami's been way late to the party. He is lucky to have his job for as long as he did, but I think it cleared up some space. I think it allowed Mike McDaniel to do his thing. I still think there's some, obviously, the number one thing I'm proud of with Miami is that they've cleaned up that offensive line. I mean, they're these guys, 3 of the 5 starters on that offensive line are all rookies.
Right.
And what we've seen, I mean, all 3 running backs, 2 of them getting 100 yards and 3 of them getting touchdowns. They're starting to clean up things, but that's 4 in a row. I mean, I don't know how long it's been since I could say Miami won 4 in a row, whether it was against teams like the Jets or not. I don't make the schedule. I think the big question is, can they go into Pittsburgh on a week like this and beat up on and pull out a win against Pittsburgh? I think that's going to be a real question, because we're looking at it. I mean, at a middle of a pack type team, I think it's week to week.
True.
But who can show up?
Can I say, though, that watching you guys play yesterday, I think that's the exact style of play that you need to play in order to beat the Steelers. Because if you watched the Ravens against the Steelers game yesterday, the Ravens were beating them up on the ground. They really were. They had a lot of big plays. We've mentioned it a couple times, the age of this Steelers defense and how slow it can be because of that. And to be honest with you, if you can really isolate TJ Watt, they don't have a whole ton.
And just go after Ramsey.
Exactly. Just target Ramsey. And that's the weirdest thing to say out loud. It really is because it's Jalen Ramsey.
But teams are doing it.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at your final 4 games, man. Pittsburgh is winnable. That is absolutely winnable, even though you're going to Pittsburgh. The only thing that I think is going to really deter it is the cold, because we all know how Tua is in the cold. Then you got Cincinnati, absolutely winnable. We've talked about it earlier. Although Joe Burrow can throw for 40 points, can the defense really stop anybody? We'll see how that works out for the rest of their season. Tampa Bay, not impressed with. They're injury prone, and honestly, unless they get Mike Evans back, I don't think this offense looks nearly as good as it used to. Although there was one ball where I was looking at Baker, there was a touchdown that he should have thrown to Ibuka where I was like, oh, that was ugly.
There's a couple of them.
I know. That was ugly. Now, the only game that I'm sitting here like, ooh, that's an uphill battle, you're going to New England in the last week of the season.
Yeah, we're used to it.
The positive, though, is it's the last week of the season.
Yeah,
which
means
means
it's a division game.
You won't see Drake May.
Probably not.
More than likely.
Probably not. My other question is, before I forget, is that that touchdown that they took away from Baltimore.
Yes. Okay.
Oh
so
my gosh,
the Isaiah
dude.
Likely touchdown that really lost in the game. Really, I found it a little hogwash. I get what they're trying to say. So for those people who don't understand the rule, it is true that 2 feet down in the end zone traditionally is a touchdown. That is 100% factual for most people who watch football. However, in that type of situation where it's not a 2 feet down out of bounds kind of a thing, you have to maintain control through the play, which includes a third step. And that is what the referees told John Harbaugh, that he did not maintain control of the ball through that third step down. I personally found that to be a little hinky. I really did. But there were a couple plays I watched this weekend in the Atlanta game and the Buffalo game and that one where I was like, okay, these calls are getting really weird. I don't know if this is over analyzation on my part. I don't know if you guys saw it as well, but I do think, like I said last week, I mean, we've had referees now come out and have some questionable calls at the end of games, and with gambling and all that being a thing, this is the last time that you really want to be slipping on any of these calls. But in this instance, over refereeing a game also can kind of make you look like you're trying to play the odds and, do some sort of illegal gambling thing.
With all the football I've watched, that's a touchdown.
Yes, 100%. I said the same thing. It's like he clearly has it outright, 2 hands on it, 2 feet down. He's walking in the end zone just because the DB came up from behind him and punched his arm and the ball came out. In my personal opinion, it should have been a touchdown. But that is football. The referees called what they called, and we all have to deal with the outcome. Speaking of questionable things that happen at the end of games, though, before we get to our break, and we'll get to your text message on the other side with some college football talk as well. Raiders. A lot of people are mad at y'all today, and I kind of don't blame them. Why are we kicking a field goal down 10 at the end of the game with 5 seconds left, Pete? Why? Like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. You thought you can get the kick and then maybe the onside kick and then, a Hail Mary, whatever hogwash excuse you want to give people. But the one team in all of the NFL that is not allowed to do this type of stuff, especially when it comes to over-unders and, the stretch and, breaking a lot of people's banks when it comes to gambling, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. And with that field goal, they ruined a lot of people's beats. That was the worst beat of the weekend, if I'm being completely honest. Because with that kick, they hit the over. And I believe they actually hit under the spread as well. So a lot of people, including Dave Portnoy, are calling for some sort of look into this because it was kind of fishy. I'm not going to lie. I've never seen an NFL coach kick a field goal down 10 with 5 seconds left, hoping that they can get an onside kick. That's weird. I have no idea. Like, if you had done that with 30 seconds left, with a minute left, we would all get it. But with 10 seconds left, you're sending out Dan Carlson? That's kind of weird, Pete. Just saying. Let's take a break. We'll get you guys a text message on the other side. Plus, this college football controversy as Notre Dame and BYU were left out, and Miami, James Madison, and Tulane were put in to the college football playoff bracket. We'll get to all of that on the other side. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk.
Stay connected with the early
Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. We are also streaming video live every single day on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You also follow us on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram as well. Just search the Early Bird Special Official, all that type of good stuff. Let's get to the text messages, then I'll get to this college football controversy because I talked about it yesterday. I knew this was going to happen every year. Every year we talk about it. Every year there's one team or two teams that get in that everyone's like, oh, they don't deserve to be there. We'll get to why these guys are there in a second. What are some of the text messages we got?
First one says, shame, shame, shame. The Broncos have not wrapped up the AFC West quite yet. And the next one.
No, I'm pretty sure they said last night that they wrapped it up.
Well,
but I might be wrong.
How can the Chargers not win the division if they win tonight? They're 2 games back, and they have already beaten Denver once.
No, that's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I swear to God, that's what the announcer said last night. Is with Kansas City losing and the Broncos winning. Oh, no. I'm sorry. That is on me. Thank you for tightening me up. The Kansas City Chiefs are out of the AFC West. That's what it was. I apologize. You're absolutely correct.
And then this last one will set you up for the colleges. Says, did Notre Dame really turn down a bowl game since they were out of the playoffs?
Yes, Notre Dame pulled a massive Karen move and just said, we're not even going to play in the bowl game. Baylor did the same thing, but Baylor was never even close. At this point, so let's just get to that real quick. The entire championship weekend was fantastic. There are a handful of games that were blowouts, but we'll go down it real quick. The American Conference, Tulane beat North Texas 34-21. A very memorable game that saw the Tulane quarterback, who was the BYU quarterback, if you guys remember, that transferred due to some premarital relations that he had with a lady. And BYU wasn't very happy with that. But they will now be in the playoff as well as the top non-Power 5 conference ranked that'll be in there. James Madison won the Sun Belt as well, 31-14. The ACC championship game was the biggest upset of the night. Virginia losing to Duke, Duke being an 8-5 team in the ACC, thus knocking them out of the college football playoff because they are not ranked high enough to be able to even make it regardless of being a conference champion. That's why you're not going to see an ACC team in the playoff this year. Then we look at Big 12, Texas Tech absolutely dismantling BYU 34-7. That was nowhere close and was probably the most boring game of the entire weekend. The SEC championship, Georgia beating Alabama 28-7, being Georgia's first win against Alabama in the SEC championship. I believe the second win overall for George Kirby against Alabama in his entire career. And their hopes in Georgia that this is the first of many that's going to be coming against this entire Alabama Crimson Tide post Nick Saban era. And then the final game was the Big Ten championship, the one everybody was watching, Ohio State and Indiana, where Indiana and Coach Cignetti win the game 13-10. And Coach Cignetti continues to be the best story in the NCAA and in football overall, in my personal opinion. When you come in and take arguably the most losingest program in the entirety of the NCAA and make them not only a 2-time contender for the Big Ten championship, but now a Big Ten champion and the number 1 overall team in the entire nation on a 23-3 record. I apologize. It's pretty dang impressive. And honestly, I think we're seeing the next coming of Nick Saban, because if anybody remembers, before Alabama pulled in Nick Saban, Alabama was one of the most losingest programs as well. So maybe we're just seeing the NIL's version of Nick Saban. But with all those championship games being done, the NCAA and the College Football Playoff Committee have come out with their final college football playoff rankings and their final college football playoff bracket. And it goes as so. Indiana now at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Georgia at number 3, Texas Tech at 4. 5 would be Oregon, 6 is Ole Miss, 7 is Texas A&M, 8 was Oklahoma, 9 being Alabama, 10 Miami, the U got in, 11 will go to Tulane, and 12 will go to James Madison of Sun Belt. Now, for those people who are wondering what happened to Notre Dame, why did Notre Dame get dropped out? It was all boiling down to exactly what I told you guys last week. Head to head. Who beat who? The beginning of the year, first game of the season, Miami beats Notre Dame. Next week, Miami loses to Texas A&M. Now, granted, both of those teams being top-tier teams should matter. And Notre Dame winning every other game, 10 in a row by multiple points, double digits, in fact, probably should have factored in as well. But their strength of schedule matters. The fact that Notre Dame does not play in a conference and does not play some of these big name schools all the time matters at the end of the day. And we can't just have a play-in game for Notre Dame every year into the college football playoff. That's not fair either. It's all about inclusivity. And honestly, when they expand this in January to 16 teams, they'll probably be easier to get in. But yes, Notre Dame's entire answer to this was to throw their clipboard down and said, I'm going home, and not playing in a bowl game, robbing their seniors of one final game, robbing their freshmen through juniors of 3 weeks of practice and preparation that they could use towards their development. And overall, you're ruining your fans' entire year by not giving them one final game. You got a bowl game, dude. Get over yourselves. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll talk to our first guest of the day, Tyson and Trevor, and then we'll have our guys Snacks talking all things NBA. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here, hour 2 on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. And it is time to get our guests in here. The first two of the day before we call in Snacks to talk a little NBA. We're going to hopefully make you guys laugh here as your week starts. As our guys Tyson and Trevor are in the house for Open Mic Mondays at Firehouse. Gentlemen, good to see you. Even though it's in that, you look like a minion. I'm just going to let you know that.
Proudly supporting the Savannah Bananas.
There you go. I'll give you Savannah Bananas. I love the Savannah Bananas, but just y'all need to burn those yellow jerseys, my friend. I'm sorry. Those.
I thought that was the comedy.
Huh?
He was already making me laugh.
Yeah, I'm just saying this. Like, I'm sorry. I have to look at Trevor. Trevor, how are you?
I'm doing great. Super glad to be here, guys. Not even a torn Achilles could keep me away from you guys.
Ooh, well, factual on that one.
I have to make jokes because if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry
At some point.
I know. I've gotten to the point where I've gone through acceptance. I'm now just saying whatever the season's gonna be, I will take it, and I'm trusting in Dan Campbell and the Legion of Boom to not ruin my life. Legion of Whom?
Yeah,
excuse me, the Legion of Whom?
Yeah, because like I don't know if Seattle's gonna let you keep that one, but
Yeah.
you guys look fine though. I mean, again, the NFC North is wide open, and again, the AFC West is wide open as well. I mistakenly said that the Chargers didn't have a chance, but I totally forget that there's still a game left to go with the two of you. But I mean, when you look at how this season is wrapping up in a lot of these divisions, I don't think a lot of people saw some of these, at least leaders, being where they are today, especially not the Patriots, the Broncos. I mean, you guys aren't exactly that far away from the Packers.
No,
So-
just and then a little help maybe to get a wild card spot. But hey, again, that's why I'm just like I'm
doesn't-
gonna enjoy the roller coaster
Yeah,
ride.
it doesn't
and see
help
what
that you guys
happens.
drop both to them, but it is what
Yeah,
it is. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But let's talk a little comedy before we get into football.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, Open Mic Mondays have been going pretty fantastically over there at Firehouse, but let everybody know if they haven't heard how they can get involved.
Well, you could either reach out to us. You can reach out to Tyson Ha Hayes or Made You Laugh Mondays. It's just one word. And it's every Monday night, 7 p.m., Rosedale Firehouse, the Firehouse on Callaway, upstairs. And what do you call it?
The wonderful room we've taken to calling the Vapor Room.
There you go.
Vapor.
Upstairs. It looks like an exclusive, private event always, but just head upstairs. There's a little bit of signage that says free comedy upstairs, but it's a free time. Take your girlfriend out to a nice date for free.
And the food specials are still a thing, I would
Yeah,
assume.
you get a like $12 burger, like regular $20 burgers. You get, burger and fries. And then they have, pitcher of beer for under $20. So you got 4 beers right there.
It's kind of hard to beat that,
You
especially
can't-
during the holidays.
And it's actually for football at Firehouse. Anytime there's a football game on, you get a happy hour. So happy hour typically closes at 6 when doors open. But because of Monday Night Football, it's an extended happy hour. So let's go get some cheap drinks and food.
And Tyson and I can personally recommend the mac and cheese bites.
Yeah, dude, they were fire. Just had them yesterday.
I have not had those. That sounds fantastic.
They are
actually.
good.
So how difficult is it to do comedy while you're trying to watch your team on the other side?
I was just
Dang,
asking
man.
that during the
So
break.
tonight, yeah, we got the Bolts versus the Birds. This was actually week 1. Week 1, the Chargers did Monday Night Football. It was a away game, Rio de Janeiro. But I didn't get to see a lick of the football game, the very first game of the season. But tonight's probably going to be the same. I'm not going to watch too much of it. But that's just what happens. We sacrifice some things to put on a show upstairs. And so we like to see you guys come
We
out.
appreciate
That's
your
how you do that.
sacrifice, but
Thanks,
I mean,
guys.
you don't have to lie. We all know you're going to sneak down there.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm watching the game. I'm turning the TV on upstairs.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he's
I'm-
gonna have his
I
phone
don't
right there
care.
next to the board and just like, he's paying attention to you, but he's not paying attention to
Yeah,
you.
Trevor's up doing 35 minutes because I forget to light him.
Oh,
Just
I-
watching a nail biter of the
100%.
game.
I 100% expect that to happen. That's kind of what happened on Thursday with Anthony Howdege because he wasn't even playing. He was just putting on the Dallas Lions game just to mess with me
Oh, yeah.
during the Thursday night, Mike,
That's
How did Gil
awesome.
do that?
because
He'll
he
be done
wanted to see what would happen if the Lions lost to the Packers and
he
the
just
Cowboys
wanted
back to back.
He just want to see you cry. That's
Yeah,
what it
exactly.
is.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
you're gonna see Tyson cry if Justin goes down tonight, but they want to see you
Ugh.
cry because if you lost to the Dallas Cowboys, they would never have let you live. In
Oh, 100%. I mean, what was it? The second that the Packers beat the Bears this weekend, he put up a post that said "Bear down, Dan
Yeah,
Betts."
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
We actually, so Trevor and I had a little plan yesterday. We went out and watched the Bears play the Packers, which if you don't know, this is notorious that it's the owner of the Well, Dan Betts.
Mhm.
He's outside of Chicago. He's a Bears fan. And the Thursday night Mike at Timber for the Well is Anthony Howdege, and he's a Packers fan. So Trevor and I, went out yesterday to watch the game, and we sent out little text messages to each of them. Hey, man, your Bears aren't doing so good. You might want to let Anthony know. We're trying to cause a rift over there at Thursday Night Mike's at the Well, just to stir the pot. That's how Made You Laugh Mondays does it, Trevor.
See,
and we succeeded. They were both fuming.
This is what I'm talking about, though, because last time you were here, we were talking about getting an entire panel of you guys, and we just all we need to do is find a Minnesota Vikings fan. That's it.
Oh, we're planning.
I could throw the three of you with a Minnesota Vikings fan in, and I'll just sit there and monitor it.
Let
and
him go.
We could potentially have one of the funniest things football has seen in some time.
Yeah, I said I agreed as long as Dan does like a rank doesn't apply thing and like puts the lieutenant's bars on the table, like does one of those.
Nobody can actually get. Well, I mean, if you guys are texting him and Anthony trying to put them against each other, I'm pretty sure there's already going to be something thrown your way.
In classic Midwest fan fashion, they barely bid on it. They're just like, I'm not saying anything till the end of the game.
Of course. Well, again, they know how this stuff rolls. They know how these games go between the Bears and the Packers. And to be honest with you, yesterday's almost went that way. If it wasn't for a bad interception at the end of the game,
Serious. It was
we'd be talking about Caleb Williams atop of the NFC right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why the last text I sent Dan Betts was just red, no response.
Yeah, I didn't respond to that.
I mean, well, obviously you guys work with a ton of different people throughout this entire town and around the area as well that come down for the open mic nights. Do we know of anybody that's going to be there tonight besides the two of you?
Let's see. I'm trying to think who is Boyd. I think Boydston's going to be there tonight.
Yeah, Boydston will be there.
Boydston.
Just the regulars. You know, we got Bobby Ortiz, Danny Castro, Anthony Howdigy, Nathaniel Webb, David May. A couple of the newer guys come out and check it out. Like we said, Boydston, Hacker, and we've got some guys lined up for this show. We're going to bring on a bunch of guys. Jeremiah Nation. Yeah, guys are going to be out here in the future. You guys will get to know the local comedy scene a little better every Monday.
We know
morning.
Boydston very, very well. He's been on the show a couple times, and he's probably a Colts fan that's crying right now in his coffee, but it is what it is. And obviously, you guys have been doing this for a long, long time. You guys have been meeting all these different kind of people, but there are new faces that come in every single week. I know I ask you guys this every single week, but there are people that listen that don't listen every week and every day.
Sure.
If somebody's getting into comedy, wants to try out your guys' open mic, how do they do that? I know you said reach out to yourself at Tyson Haha Hayes, but maybe they don't have Instagram. Do they just show up?
Yeah, 100%. Just show up to the Firehouse Rosedale at I'd say 6:30. If you want to show up a little earlier, that's fine. But usually that's when I get the list started. And if you're there at 6:30, we'll put you on the list. We'll give you your 5 minutes, and you can show us what you got. And if it's your first time, don't worry. We always try and be super supportive and welcoming to the new comics, because it's a terrifying thing to do this in general, but your first time is especially terrifying. So we try not to go too hard on the new guys.
I don't think people really understand how nerve-wracking it can be just being in front of a group of 10 people, let alone a whole room.
For those comics who are like, oh, nerves are a thing, I don't know if I can do it, guys. I've been doing this for 4 years. I still to this day get nervous before I go on stage for open mics in front of like my friends and 5 people. It's a totally natural response for your body to have. I don't know. Every time I do it, I'm like, I'm fighting evolution. What am I doing right now?
Well, how much do you guys go up there with a planned set? I mean, like open mics, I know traditionally are used, at least for comedians, to test a lot of things, right? So like how often do you guys know what jokes you're even going to say when you go up there?
Personally, I usually have an idea of what I'm going to do when I go on stage. It just depends on how far in development the joke is. Is this embryonic idea that I thought of on my drive over to the mic that I'm just going to throw out there and see what hits the wall? Or maybe it's something I've been working on for 6 months and I'm just trying to find that last little detail.
What about you, Tyson?
Yeah, no, I have a plan, typically some old stuff and then work in some new stuff. I do a little thing where I hide some notes on my body somewhere that you can't see when I check it.
The comedy scene jokes that Tyson's essentially the quarterback version. Yeah, he's got the plays on his sleeve ready to go.
Oh my God.
Then I don't reference them sometimes. Sometimes I do. And then sometimes you walk into that Timblr. I asked the audience because I wanted to go into an NFL joke, a football joke. Hey, anybody in here watch football? And nobody watched football. And I didn't. It was Thursday night football. Everybody's out of the room watching football if they want to watch football.
Yeah, it's like these people aren't here to watch football.
Then I couldn't do the joke about football because I didn't think they'd understand it. So I immediately just went into punching down on blind people, and it worked. So you can go that direction.
Well, that's a hell of a pivot. Golly,
it worked.
That's a classic pivot for Tyson Hayes, ladies and gentlemen.
You guys do need to go check out this open mic, though. It is fantastic every single Monday, like they said, at Firehouse on Rosedale. So if you are out and about tonight, you do want to go down to Rosedale and check this out. No, not the club that's behind it. You want to go to the other spot on the other end. But let's talk a little bit of football since we have plenty to talk about today. Are you guys college fans as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I
any
am.
thoughts on Notre Dame pulling out of a bowl game
Not
because
good.
they didn't make the playoff? I personally
Okay.
see this as the biggest
See,
spoiled brat
Yeah,
thing
take
I've
your
ever
ball
heard.
And
go
here's the thing,
home.
I went to Michigan State, so I dealt with the entitlement of Notre Dame being near us and being like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we don't want to play you every year anymore. This is classic Notre Dame. We're better than you. We get to make our own rules. Hey, we don't want to be in a conference with anyone until it gives us more money.
Exactly. And that's my biggest thing is that there's only 2 teams in the entirety of the NCAA football world that aren't in a conference. It's Notre Dame, it's UConn. How Notre Dame hasn't been brought into the ACC
Aren't
or
they-
the Big Ten or something like
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't
Oh, Big
understand.
Ten tried for decades.
I know,
Like, come on,
but
you're there.
now the Big
You-
Ten is 18 teams deep. They can't add anymore, and we're sitting here with Notre Dame fans crying because they didn't make a champion or they didn't make it to the playoff because they didn't play in a championship game. It's like, when does it really bite you in the butt for
Exactly.
not taking on a full conference?
You wanted to be independent and you
Right.
wanted freedom scheduling. Well, guess what?
And
You have to
it's like-
face the other side of that too.
I hear guys like Kirk Herbstreit and Saban talk about it yesterday and how unfair it is and how we should have a play-in game. And I'm like, are you serious? So every year we're just going to let Notre Dame into the college football playoff on a play-in?
Right.
Huh?
Tell me you'd be saying the same thing if it was Tulane
Exactly.
or South Florida.
But see, the other team, because I'm going to throw this out there. If there was one team that's on the college football playoff that should have been left off, it should have been Alabama. Getting blown out in the SEC championship game. Apparently it mattered for BYU, but it didn't matter for you.
Mhm.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm there with you, man.
And honestly, for Nick Saban to sit there and say, well, this isn't fair. Nick, if it would have went the other way, you would have been saying the exact same thing.
Mhm.
So at the end of all this, I just don't like the way they went about it. For them and Marcus Freeman to sit there and say, well, we're not even going to play in a bowl game because we didn't get in the playoff. That's ridiculous. Because it also kills bowl games because now every college is going to be sitting there saying, oh, we don't have to play in the bowl games anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen because colleges get a lot of money off those bowl games.
Apparently not enough.
And there's fans who, like myself, who are like, can we please just make a bowl game? Please, can we?
Again,
we haven't made a bowl game in 2 years.
Well,
Can we
that's the
please
other
just-
thing too, is Notre Dame is pretty much throwing up a big old middle finger to all of their fans saying,
Yeah.
nah,
No,
we're not even going to do
Yeah.
it. Our seniors don't even get a final game. You guys all just
Mhm.
get to deal with the fact that we're being spoiled brats and we're not going to play.
Remember that trip to Florida you usually take every New Year's? Nope.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's not happening. So it's, I don't know. I just find this to be a little ridiculous. Every year there's controversy around who gets into the college football playoff, but to sit there and say we're not even going to play in a bowl game now
Yeah,
because we
To
didn't
take
get
your,
in,
yeah, to take your toys and go home.
that's
Like,
ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid.
We'll see the repercussions, I think, next year if they want to give them a
Oh,
slap on the
yes.
wrist, or if they're just going to make an example out of
Oh,
them and be like,
yeah.
"Oh, you guys want to play with us?
Well,
and what
'cause-
we're going to schedule for you."
Everybody kind of forgets Notre Dame got thrown in there last year and everybody said they shouldn't have been in
Yeah,
there.
that's what it happens. Both
And
ways.
they threw you guys a bone. And then this
Mhm.
year just so happens to be the team that was right next to you in the rankings beat you outright beginning of the year. Does that not warrant them being on top of you in the ranking? I'm sorry. I don't like that's logical in my head. You guys have the same record. You guys have the same losses, the same wins.
Mhm.
Who goes on top? The team who beat the other. That's Miami. So I don't know. I don't get all the around it, but it is what it is.
There's a little part of me that thinks that maybe they're doing this because the that's about to be number one is in their own backyard.
Yep.
And they're just like, well, we don't want to play if Indiana's
Yeah.
going to win the
and,
national
well, and
championship.
obviously, we saw what happened last year with Indiana in the playoff as well. But it's just this year, I think they would have got embarrassed and they wouldn't have wanted to play.
Oh, they would have gotten absolutely
They
destroyed
would have
by
gotten-
the Hoosiers.
yeah.
The Hoosiers would have taken them behind
if they
the
even
woodshed.
got the Hoosiers this year, though, that's the thing. Like
Mhm.
it's who they would have played first. Because if you would have had it in there at the 10 spot, what would that would have put them? I'm sorry, that would have been Texas A&M, which we already saw what that happened with that game in the beginning of the year too. So putting them in the playoff doesn't help anybody, in my opinion. It
Mhm.
really doesn't. But it is what it is. All these people are going to be complaining that James Madison made it and Tulane made it, but ACC didn't, and that's their fault for having an 8-5 champion. I mean, I don't know exactly what to tell you.
Exactly.
And actually, I misspoke as well, saying that the ACC wouldn't be represented. I forgot Miami is in it, and they are in the ACC. So that obviously I need to tighten myself on that one. But shifting over to the NFL, obviously both of you are very happy fans this week, at least. Going into next week, though, I already talked about your team and how big this game is. How do you think this is going to fare? And do you think this is a must-win for your
It
team?
is. We're on the bubble right now because Buffalo just won yesterday, so
Mhm.
they're one win ahead of us on the
The
hunt
Texans are now tied
and
with
the
you.
Texans are killing, and they're beating solid teams too. The Texans,
Mhm.
like a lineup, its strength of schedule is ridiculous. Justin Herbert's got a bad left hand, surgery on it, right?
Yes.
So he's going to be taking some shotgun from, he's going to be doing a lot of snaps.
Hampton will be back.
Hampton
will be back, right? Which I don't know. I talked to you guys in the beginning of the season, and I think I predicted this. I remember I said there might be something that goes down before Nigel went out. And I said there's going to be a back that comes in and gets, a lot of snaps. I thought it was Hampton, but Hampton went out. And then we got Kamani come in, Vidal come in, and he's a stud.
Fantastic.
Did you know that that's Hank Aaron's grandson, by the way?
Did not know.
What a special little treat of information.
Wow.
That's Hank Aaron's grandson.
And actually, because the Raiders have Bo Jackson's nephew as well, if I'm
that's
not mistaken.
some pedigree right there, boy.
'Cause
I'll
he
take a
scored
nephew.
a touchdown yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. It may be one of those teams, either the Broncos or the Raiders do, because I was listening and I wasn't really paying attention who scored.
Yeah, it was hard to look at that game. It wasn't that
And, well, I mean, between that and my Falcons, there's not a lot of great football that's being
Just
played in that
sleeping.
area. But I mean, it is a must win for you
Yeah,
guys, though,
it
for
is.
sure. Because with Justin banged up, I mean, you won't have to deal with Jalen Carter today, which is a good thing. No, their best defensive tackle outside of Ojabo. And when it comes to sacks, they're actually bottom half of the league as well. So you might be okay there too. My only concern is your offensive line.
That's what I was going to say. We have a lot of hurry ups, a lot
Exactly.
of sacks. And so if you
38 sacks on the year.
just because they're on the lower end doesn't necessarily mean that we're free. We're in the clear
Exactly.
because we're second string, offensive line here. And the whole team has been kind of banged up, but it's going to be interesting to see how tonight plays out.
So
I'm really excited.
God forbid. I hope this doesn't happen. Knock on wood, all that type of stuff.
Go ahead.
Justin goes out tonight somehow. The
Yeah.
hand gets re-aggravated.
Yeah.
Are you at least okay with Trey Lance coming in? Do you feel confident that he could potentially keep you guys alive? Because essentially that's what you would have to live with.
He looked good when he came in, right? And Trey Lance, let's not forget, he was going to be the starter of the Niners before he got injured. He was geared up, and he could have been, you never know what the history could have been there. He could have been a Super Bowl quarterback. I think we have a solid backup quarterback. I mean, you can't replace a Justin Herbert, but definitely not. Having Trey Lance is comfortable having him as a backup, definitely. So he proved himself the last couple times he's been in. He looked really good. So
he looks like a
I'm
solid
down.
game manager nowadays. I mean, when he was early with his 49er career, I think he was a little bit wild with the football, and that's why a lot of people were kind of leaning more towards Brock because he was a little bit more simple. But I don't know, like when it comes to the Chargers and how much you guys desperately need to win just to hold on to this playoff spot, it would be, I'd be besides myself if I sat there and said that you'd be able to pull it off with Trey, just because I haven't seen him play that much. That's why I have to ask the question, since you are a Charger fan and you probably have a little bit more confidence in him than I.
Yeah, no, I do. Like, what do you see number 5 go in there? I remember thinking, hey, this isn't because we've had, there's been times when our Phillips Rivers has gone down. We're going to the third guy. Charlie Whitehurst goes in, right? But it's almost like plug and play. Like they still do pretty well. So there's like that potential to kind of like be a sleeper. Like, oh, we didn't do film on, Trey Lance, or we didn't really get enough time to prepare. Like we've been preparing for Justin Herbert. So maybe there's like some stuff that we can get away with that we wouldn't have had they had more time to prepare for us. So there's that little sneak attack that I feel like maybe I can latch onto and hope that works. And also he's a talented guy. There's a reason why he's in the NFL and why there's a chance that he almost started for another team. And we have him, fortunately for us, for these moments when like Herbert goes down. So,
and you guys are shockingly impressive, and I don't mean that in a slight way, but when you look at the rankings defensively, the Chargers are top 3, second in pass defense right now as well, which is going to be huge. But you're going against Saquon, and
always
God forbid you be the one game that Saquon actually breaks out against, because at this point, I mean, the Eagles need this game, I think, more than you guys do, because if they don't win this, one, you're not going to catch the momentum you had last year to win the Super Bowl. But two, we were talking about it with his game, the Cowboys are right on their heels. And if they lose that division to the Cowboys, there's going to be a lot of questions going into the offseason. So
a lot of pressure on the Eagles to win too. So
absolutely. This is going to be an interesting game for you guys. So,
oh yeah.
You got a final score prediction?
Oh yeah. 48-12, all field goals.
All field goals.
God. Hey, real quick, though, I do have a prediction. So I want to go ahead and bow out. I know that you and I had a quick discussion at the beginning of the season. My guy had surgery on his hand. I think that's only fair.
I knew it.
He's
knew it.
1,400 passing yards
last week.
1,400 passing yards ahead of me. You're like 28 touchdowns. It's
what's funny? I'm okay with you bowing out.
No,
That's
let's
fine.
go. No, I was
you're
joking.
fine. No. You just said you're bowing out, so we're fine.
Never. I would never back
but
out of a bet.
I want it to be known we never actually specified what he was going to have to do.
That's why I'm not backing out, because there's absolutely.
I had to do a 5-minute
You are
set.
going to. I don't care if I lose this bet. You're still going to.
Eventually, you're going to get me up there. But I'm just saying, Trevor can be my witness to this. Sparky's my witness to this. I said this last week.
I can confirm.
Dak Prescott was killing it, and I said, "See, all it's going to take is one bad injury, and he's going to sit there and bow out." And look what happened. And your boy's still playing.
I know. He's still playing too, and I'm going to be like, "Hey, let's just be honest. Let's just have
just be honest about it. It's because the last 2 weeks he's looked like garbage.
It is.
The last 2 weeks he can barely get 200 yards, and now you're worried.
I'm going to honor the bet. I still don't know what my
I don't even know what you're thinking.
I know. We can figure something out because we bet, and even though it is, we're like 15 weeks into it, and he did hurt himself. It's clear. It's clear that Dax did better, and I thought it was going to be a landslide the other way, but I'm not going to let this.
In your defense, I mean, when the season started, we all kind of thought that, right? Everyone thought the Cowboys were throwing it away with the Micah Parsons trade. But I don't think anybody really saw this offense coming from the Dallas Cowboys. They are easily one of the best offensive teams in football.
A lot of weapons.
I mean, George Pickens still is one of the top wide receivers. Williams, although he's fallen out of the top 5, is still a great running back. I mean, that's the only thing they have right now outside of a rush defense. So realistically, going into this season, the bet looked like it was better on your end. I'm not going to lie to you.
I thought you were crazy for a minute.
Honestly, I don't blame you.
Getting ready to help you start writing your 5 minutes.
Exactly. But at this point, as the season progresses, obviously injuries happen, which we called. We knew that was going to happen. But I didn't think it was going to be this much of a stretch. Because honestly, there were weeks where I was telling Sparky I might lose this bet just because Justin was at the top of the list in the passing ranking. Yeah. But then the bye week came, and then the 2-3 weeks of under 200 yards, and
then Dak's showing out for some reason.
So. But again, we'll figure it out. I don't know if I may not have you do anything, but unless the listeners give me a good suggestion, I'm gonna leave it up to the listeners.
But in all fairness, you did. I feel like it qualifies to be a bet. You know what I mean? It's like 11, 12, 13 weeks in. It's like
100%. 100%. I'm completely cool with the bow out. I just wanted to prove to say I called it.
I don't bow down.
That we have video and audio that said he did it.
Show you West Side Connection up.
Right.
Oh, dude! Now my clip from last week is going to have 30 seconds less. Thanks, Tyson.
Before we let you guys go, though, is there anything you guys are looking forward to? Obviously, this is championship season for football. This is playoff season for football. What's the one storyline that you guys are really following right now that you just can't wait to see the end of? Because personally, I said Coach Cignetti. I think this entire run by the Hoosiers. I think that him turning one of the most losingest football programs into an absolute dominance. I think this could be one of the coolest stories college football has ever had.
Yeah, I'm right there with you again. As a Big Ten fan for years, seeing Indiana seeing both, because it was both Indiana schools. Where Purdue and Indiana were just the laughing stock of the Big Ten. Like you could count on them for a win.
They were basketball schools.
Oh, absolutely. You can count on them for a win every single year. Like, oh, great, we've got Indiana on the schedule. There's a win. But yeah, to see them become the dominant force in the Big Ten is amazing.
And I made parallels to this, but do you kind of agree with me? This could be the second coming of Nick Saban? Because again, I highlight all the time that before Saban got to Bama, it was one of the worst football schools in the nation.
Yeah.
And then he comes to Bama after LSU and the Miami Dolphins stint, and he makes it a dynasty for over 10, 12, 15 years, however long he was
after doing that.
I would be a lot more skeptical, but to see Indiana take down Ohio State in a defensive game like that makes me think, that could happen.
Now, obviously, Ohio State won kick away, and they absolutely botched it from 10 yards. But the way I looked at that game, I was like, this was pretty dang fun to watch regardless. I love Mendoza. I think both of the Mendoza brothers are awesome to watch, but Fernando is going to be a great NFL quarterback. So I'm just excited to see how that entire thing shapes up.
It's a fun thing to watch. So yeah, I'm going to be watching very intently through the playoffs.
100%.
I'm low key a Hoosiers fan for the course of this.
I'm the exact same way. Do you think either James Madison or Tulane pull off a W?
Tulane maybe. I think James Madison. I think that's just
Tulane has Ole Miss, and right now Ole Miss is in shambles.
That's what I wanted to see.
Unfold.
And Tulane's one of those schools that's kind of a mid-major in football that could come up and bite you every once in a while. So I feel like that's a match made for Tulane to get an upset.
They have an interesting story as well. Their starting quarterback being the kid from BYU that was essentially shipped out after this whole premarital thing happened between him and a girl, and that breaks BYU's entire code of ethics.
Yeah, exactly.
And for them to be the team that really booted out BYU and didn't let them into the playoff kind of made me laugh a little bit too, because that's got to stick in their craw a little bit. But I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this whole Lane Kiffin thing though? Because I've made the point multiple times, especially with people claiming he can't go back and coach because he's going to steal players. They're going to leave anyway. Players these days don't commit to schools, they commit to coaches. And when the coach leaves, they leave with him. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? I don't get everybody's gripes on not allowing him to coach the rest of the playoff. I really don't get it, because these players are going to leave with him regardless.
Right.
And he sent his offensive coordinator back to coach for them. And if you don't think he's going to be in their ear too, saying, hey, coach got $25 to $30 million to spend on all of his players for the next couple of years, maybe you should think about transferring.
Oh, yeah. I think it's the people who are already complaining that the transfer portal is too easy for players to move. Right. Those are the people that are complaining about Lane Kiffin.
Right.
It's not the people who are like, oh yeah, great, let players go where they want to go, let them play who they play for. These are the people who still think that college players should essentially be indentured servants and should sign essentially a contract to stay wherever they're going to be for 4 years.
There are 2 bills right now. I meant to actually get the info on this, and I'll have it for everybody tomorrow. But there are 2 bills in Congress right now that are going to be attacking this exact thing, which it's either going to go one way or the other. Either the NCAA is going to be able to essentially cap everybody on how much they can spend on players and how much those players can make, or they're going to pass this other one, which is going to allow players to essentially make whatever the heck they want. So either way, I don't think it's a very good guideline, but we're headed towards some sort of change in this whole NIL deal.
Yeah, interesting.
Do you guys think that Lane Kiffin could possibly create, though, the Dodgers of the NCAA with his $25 to $30 million he gets to spend on players? Because if you don't think guys like Trinidad are leaving Ole Miss for that, you're crazy.
Oh, they'll leave. They'll leave.
And you know what's funny? There's an entire commercial of Trinidad Chambliss saying it's a transfer commercial, and he's making a joke about it. And I'm like, that commercial is going to look real bad here in about 2 months.
I was going to say that's not going to age very well.
No, it is not. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Because I think that's another big problem with NCAA football these days. Is we're headed towards that, teams just getting paid to make. I'm sorry, paid and made that way.
Right.
So I don't know, it's going to be a weird change.
It kind of throws a wrench in the whole works. Obviously amateurism, it used to be just, what did your grandparents like? What program did you grow up wanting to play for? And now that's getting opportunities to make all kinds of money is going to really change the dynamic of decision-making by, 5-star athlete, 4-star athletes. It's going to change the whole entire fabric of of college football, I think.
Agreed.
And so guys like Lane Kiffin, with the name, the recognition of him and his coaching, he's a good coach and stuff. And that was my selection, actually, when you said, hey, what do you want to see the outcome of? I want to see Lane Kiffin going back to Mississippi, anywhere in Mississippi, to be honest. I want to see the outcome of,
just what happens out of that.
Just like the bus or the I want to see something like that.
No, absolutely. I would love to see what the crowd does the minute he steps foot back on the Rebel Stadium, because it's not going to be pleasant.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. Or Tennessee, or even just old play. Anybody, I feel like he's now the heel. I think
he's
100%.
been the heel of.
I want to see people go I want to see college football fans go full English Premier League on him, write hate songs for him.
You're talking about throwing
if there
explosives.
Is one sport that'll do that, that's college football.
Yeah,
college football is the closest thing to soccer when it comes.
And that was the weirdest part is he gets actually a bonus. If Ole Miss wins
for how far Ole Miss gets in this playoff. He still gets paid for it. This entire thing is so weird. Because again, Governor Landry coming out and saying they fired Brian Kelly, and a lot of it was based on the contract he had and how much money they had to pay him. And then they go and sign Lane Kiffin for almost double what Brian Kelly was making.
Lip service.
And not to mention Ole Miss is still paying Lane Kiffin, and they're going to pay Lane Kiffin about $7 to $13 million more for his players. And I'm just like, this is just all so dang weird.
Yeah. If you wanted to fire Brian Kelly because you thought he was a jerk, say it's because you thought he was a jerk.
And honestly,
just leave it at that.
Everybody with the stories that came out afterwards would have accepted it and said, okay, he was a jerk.
He was a jerk. He was a complete jerk.
But to sit there and have the governor come out and say that the people of Louisiana are on the hook for his contract, and that's a ridiculous amount, and we shouldn't be doing this. And And then you go and sign, or the committee, I should say, it's not Landry, but the committee goes and signs a coach for $91 million after the coach claims that he doesn't make a single decision based on money, and he had no clue how much money he was going to make. Right, because LSU just threw out $91 million at you. This entire thing doesn't make sense.
It's insulting.
It really is. Like, if I'm Brian Kelly, I am pissed, especially with how long it took them to fire him fully.
Yeah,
I am pissed.
And why are you saying that? The state of Louisiana has to isn't that what you have an athletic department and donors for to pay for that? Isn't that what you have boosters for? Why are you taking it out of the state's coffers?
Unless he's referring to them as the people of Louisiana, but I don't think Joe Blow down there in Baton Rouge is actually paying for Lane Kiffin's contract.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the closest thing he's paying for is a ticket to get into that stadium, which is still going up in price, even though
I guess if you want,
pissed off
if you want to count the $40 mandatory donation to the athletic department, then
exactly.
Like, then they're boosters, and then it's affecting the great state of Louisiana. But like, come on,
this whole thing was just odd. I can't get over it. But we have run out of time, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate you.
No problem.
One more time, Open Mic Mondays. Let them know where they can go, how they can get involved, and what time you guys start.
Guys, if you want to check out Made You Laugh Mondays, aka the only mic that matters, and hear me spitting, I guess, what am I doing this week? Punk and ska covers of Christmas tunes is what I'm doing this week.
Is that where you get all these? Did they give you that idea?
No.
Okay. He's been playing nothing but, or I shouldn't say nothing, but a good amount of AI music lately, and some of them aren't bad. I'm not gonna lie. There's a whole ton that are terrible that he doesn't play, but there are some that I've been like pleasantly surprised. So now I'm gonna have to go just to hear the songs that you guys
come through.
Play.
Yeah, come check it out.
But yeah, Mike starts at 7. We put the list out at 6:30. If you want to sign up for the open mic. Great food and drink specials. We're upstairs in the what we like to call the vapor room. Tyson, anything I'm forgetting?
I think that's it. I mean, do we let the people know that we'll be here every Monday? Is that? I'm super
Monday.
stoked about this.
At this point, get used to these two because they will be here off and on. I know it's going to be cycling out, right?
Yeah,
1 week
we'll
we're going to have you,
stagger it
1 week we're going to have you, but
give you a break.
we're going to have a whole ton of comedians coming in with them as well. So you're going to be able to meet all of these people that you can see at their shows on Mondays, plus a whole ton more that are just going to be coming in and out. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if you guys are comedy fans in Bakersfield, we are going to be bringing you highlighting comics that you should know. These are guys that if you're a local fan of comedy, these are local comics you need to know who their names are.
They're on the way up. I'm telling you right now. Thank you guys so much for your time. We will talk to you guys next week. We got to take a break real quick and get to our guys' snacks on the other side, talk a little NBA. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. I almost did it again.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. We're also streaming video on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Feel free to join us, whatever platform you choose. Everyone you choose, we just appreciate you being here. We were going to talk to our guy Snacks about some things in the NBA, but it appears he may be tied up. So hopefully we'll get him towards the end of the show. 661-842-2000 is the number if you want to call or text in at any point in time and chime me or tighten me up at any point in time. I am prone to mistakes. I realize this. So feel free. I'm not going to be one of those people that gets mad at you for texting in and says, no, you're wrong. No, absolutely. I'm prone to being wrong all the time. I got no issue with it.
This one says, Austin says, guess Rashee Rice now knows that it's how it feels to get hit as a high speed.
At a high speed, absolutely.
And then the culprit take
that
off.
was a hell of a hit, man. I mean, that's one thing I got to highlight too while watching that Texans-Chiefs game. That secondary of the Texans, you want to talk about the Legion of Boom. Wow. I think Petrie got one of them where they were mad about. I think actually that's the one that you're referring to is the Petrie hit on Rice, but some of those hits on some of those receivers and vice versa. A lot of the Chiefs receivers had some great form tackles. Or I'm sorry, Chiefs secondary, I apologize, had some great form tackles on some of the Texans receivers. So it was a fantastic, brutal game back and forth between the two squads who are desperately trying to just stay relevant in the playoff race. The Houston Texans look fantastic right now, though. They are chiming in on all cylinders. And at this point, with the Colts where they are, I have to echo what Adam Schefter said this morning. I don't see the Colts making the playoffs without Daniel Jones, which, again, if I said that to myself at the beginning of the season, I would have slapped myself in the face and said, what's wrong with you? But it's the truth. It's the truth of the fact of the matter is the team doesn't look good or look as good without Daniel back there at quarterback. Riley Leonard tried his best, but still has some growing pains to go through in his own right. And I just think that this team is not nearly as dangerous without him at quarterback. So we're going to see how the AFC South really shapes up, especially with the Jaguars figuring it out. And that's another team we have to highlight on a defensive end. Not a single game this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars over 80 yards rushing for anybody. And that includes Jonathan Taylor, who, for my money, is the best running back in the NFL. I have to put it that way. But when you look at both of these defenses, especially the Houston Texans and the Jaguars, Houston killing it in the pass game, Jags killing it in the run game. This is going to be a fun matchup, especially if the two of them see each other in the playoffs. Unfortunately for Liam Cohen, though, I'm not a huge, not that my take has anything to do with it, but the past has seen that Trevor Lawrence has a way of kind of fumbling away a handful of these games in the playoffs. So hopefully that will not be the case for the Jags this season, who now take the division lead. But I wouldn't be surprised if it fizzles out at the end of the year and the Jags end up with the wild card spot and the Texans end up with the division title. It's just the way this season is really wrapped up. I am, however, excited to see how the Jaguars do when they get Travis Hunter back. Brian Thomas seems to be catching a stride finally in the offense, which is a good thing. And it's coming at the best point in time if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. I know we don't have a whole ton of them here, but it is going to be at least a positive step forward for you in the franchise if they can get into the playoffs and win a game in the playoffs. I think it's going to show everybody that Trevor, one, is a good quarterback, especially in the NFL as a starter. And two, it's going to show people like me that maybe Liam Cohen, even though he lost all of us with the Duval chant, maybe he is the right coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. We'll see what we will see as this season continues. And Liam Cohen knows what it takes to get to a Super Bowl. Long-standing tenure with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially when they were getting there. So wouldn't be surprised if he has a little trick up his sleeve for the playoffs and maybe gets them through the first, second round. Maybe be one of those teams that shocks the world. Who knows?
Well, looking at the playoffs like we have, I mean, just looking at, maybe the top 8 or 9 teams in each conference, is there any real matchup that you would want to see in the playoffs? Because, the first off, the Packers Bears, I would love to see that one again
just about to say
in the playoffs. I would love to see a Patriots Bills game but there's a lot of them that you can mix up. I mean, even I know we're not going to get it, but that Steelers Ravens game was a hell of a game.
That would be fun to see in the playoffs, but I agree. I don't think we're going to get that. Bears Packers off top of my head is the first one that I got to see this in the playoffs. I really do. These two teams have been going at it, and I think they're closer to each other than they really realize. I think the Bears have a very solid defense, and obviously the Packers have a great defense as well, being led by Micah Parsons. But it's going to come down to their young quarterbacks, which one of them can really be the gunslinger their team needs while managing the turnovers. You saw it this week. I mean, Jordan Love looked fantastic. 17 for 25, 234, 3 touchdowns. You can't ask for a better game from him. But again, I think it's because Matt LaFleur is starting to realize what we highlighted last week. You're not letting him play like Jordan. You're not letting him play like the way that they usually would a couple seasons ago with Jordan. Let him sling it. Well, when you guys got all the way to the NFC Championship game against the Niners, it's because Jordan was looking so good. Now, granted, they still have a very, very, well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I'll say bottom 15 wide receiver room. Is that fair? I think that's a fair statement, especially with Tucker Kraft out. I think that's a pretty fair statement for the Packers. So maybe that's why we don't see the greatness that is Jordan Love. And I can say the same thing about the Chicago Bears. Watching this team play, as much as I love watching them play, they need a true number one receiver in the worst way.
Whatever happened to Rome, man?
Rome has been banged up, and I know he's just not getting the targets. Maybe it's because of the injury. He's not getting separation. I'm not sure. Burden has really come out and looked like the top guy. But I have to highlight again, where's DJ Moore? Jason Horowitz came on this show and tried to make me look dumb by saying that, it was his number one target last year. Where is it this year? The guy's barely got 30 catches. Like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? I mean, can anybody chime in and tell me if I'm crazy about this? But it don't look like Chicago has a number one receiver. It really doesn't. It's a receiver by committee. And when I look at Ben Johnson's offenses, he's got the 2 running backs he wants. He's got his Knuckles and his Sonic. He's got Swift and Monangai. I think those are the 2 guys he's going to run with at least for a year. But he doesn't have a St. Brown. He doesn't have a Jameson Williams. He doesn't have a Laporta yet. I think Colston Loveland could probably grow into that guy, but he doesn't have that guy yet. Chicago's got to figure that out in the offseason. If they can pulling one of these big name wide receivers away, maybe a George Pickens away from the Cowboys, I think Chicago could be running away with the NFC North. That's just my personal opinion. But that's the one glaring thing about the Bears that I really just, every time I watch them, I see it. It's like, God, you guys just need a number one receiver. If you had a guy that could get open on every play, this would be different. All we would see is Caleb rolling out, making some ridiculous play, hucking it as far as he can to the guy, and it would be a touchdown almost every time. We'd be talking about him as if he's Patrick. And because they don't have that, the Bears are just one step behind a lot of these teams, which is still saying a lot, seeing as they're right there for the division title. But yeah, if I had to pick one matchup right now in the playoffs, it would be Packers-Bears if it ended today. But outside of that, I would like to see Jags-Chargers, obviously getting the rematch from a couple years ago that didn't go the way that Trevor Lawrence wanted it to. But I would love to see that and at least get some redemption in that game if the Chargers end up holding on to that spot. But if we get Texans-Jags instead, you want to talk about a defensive game? I don't know exactly who comes out of that one. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we'll get to some entertainment news.
I want to what happened with NXT, because I know that has some
stuff coming up this weekend for the Saturday night's main event and John Cena's final match. He's absolutely correct. I'll let you know who Cody Rhodes will be facing after this past weekend. It was a great PLE, by the way. Deadline is one of those PLEs for NXT that I love because it's essentially their playoffs. Like, I love explaining this in football terms for people, but for the WWE, Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble, that's kind of their playoffs. That's their go-to for sure into WrestleMania, which is their Super Bowl. So for Deadline, that's kind of the same thing. Winner of the Survivor match for them gets their World Series, essentially. They get to go on to New Year's Evil which can kind of be seen as their version of WrestleMania. I don't really see the Stand and Deliver as that. It's really just a pre-show to WrestleMania. New Year's Evil is usually the one everybody looks at in NXT and say, ooh, that's one of the best ones. So this PLE in general for them was fantastic. I'll give you the rundown of what happened on that real quick on the other side of the break. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Oh yeah, there's a cuss song, or there's a cuss word in this one. That's why you started it there. I was wondering why. I was like, okay, makes sense. Welcome back, Early Bird Special, right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. Final segment of the day. I want to thank our guests, Tyson and Trevor, for joining us. You'll be hearing from them every single Monday, right before we talk to our guy Snacks about all things in the NBA. Unfortunately, Snacks could not join us today. I think he's actually on vacation. If I remember correctly, I don't think he was here last week, so that would make a lot of sense. But we'll find out here momentarily as soon as he gets here in about an hour, because he usually rolls into the station about an hour from now. Real quick before we get out of here, NXT Deadline was over the weekend. It saw some fantastic matches, including Obafemi winning back his championship. So you will see Cody Rhodes against the Ruler, Obafemi, at Saturday night's main event this weekend. That's going to be a match to watch. I was hoping it was going to be Ricky Saints just because of the past between him and Cody. They are very, very good friends. And honestly, I think Ricky was one of those guys that really came up in the industry because of Cody. So it would have been really cool to see them kind of, do a little bit of a chime in on that one, but I think there's bigger storyline that could be built there over time. So we'll see that happen eventually. But this match against Oba is going to be awesome because we talk about Gunther as the next big guy in the WWE. It's Oba Femi. I'm going to tell you right now, when the ruler eventually hits the main roster, Gunther's going to look like a baby. And it's going to be, I'm completely okay with it, if I'm being honest. Maybe it's just my biases against, Gunther, but it is.
Well, you brought up Gunther, so
I'm not happy about it, but you will see Gunther this weekend take on John Cena for for the final time in John's career. God, I hate this match. I hate this so much. I don't think you guys really realize how bad this is going to, and not in a sense of a bad match. It's going to be a great wrestling match, but at the end of the day, it's really going to be bad. Like no one's going to want to watch this. If you're a John Cena fan, you're not going to want to watch how bad this is going to end up being for our GOAT, because you want to talk about chop happy. Oh my God, this is going to be brutal to watch our just GOAT go through. You thought the sweet chin music to Ric Flair was bad.
Well, it reminded me of like the Orton and Undertaker.
I
didn't want to see that.
And I think that I'm glad you brought that up, because I heard something over the weekend that made me think about this, but I think that's exactly the route they're going. They're going to make Gunther the new legend killer. They're going to make Gunther the new guy who retires people. I wouldn't be surprised if Gunther gets AJ Styles next, and then maybe Rey Mysterio and all of these guys who are going down. Sheamus most likely will be his last match against Gunther. I don't know exactly how to explain this further, but it's going to be that. It's definitely going to be.
And the woman.
Yeah. So your two Survivor match winners. The women's side was somebody from Evolve. I cannot remember her name right now. She's the Evolve champion, though. Up and comer. Is going to be a great match to see. The men was Javon Evans, everybody's favorite bouncy boy. And for those of you who are fans like we saw the return of a man who we haven't seen since the summer. Tony D is finally back, looking completely different. He doesn't look like, his traditional mobster self. I think we're going to get a whole new character from Tony D, who was the last man to beat Oba outside of Ricky Saints for a championship. And that one belt is the one that's been eluding him, the NXT. So we will see if he gets that before he inevitably gets called up as well. That is all we got for you guys today. Join us back here tomorrow on KGEO Sports Talk. But until then, here comes Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.